Well, hello everyone and welcome to the channel. This is another Crafty chat here in the Downseller studio. For those of you who are new viewers, welcome to the channel, and for returning viewers, welcome back. My name is Jen, also known as Boston Jen on Ravelry and Boston Jen 1 on Instagram, and I'm also the host of the Downseller Studio audio podcast. And joining me today is longtime Downseller Studio podcast community member, Wendy. Wendy, introduce yourself.
Hi, everybody. Nice to be here today. My name is Wendy Gaal, and you may know me from Knitter's Brewing Company. I've had a hand-dyed yarn business for over a decade now, and I also do design work, and all my patterns are on Ravelry, and there's links in the show notes to all that good stuff. Social media-wise, you can find me on Instagram as @Knitter's Brewing Company. And on Ravelry, I am socalknitgirl. And today is a beautiful SoCal day, right up to the way it should be. So I'm happy that spring is on the way.
Sunshine. Yeah, I'm jealous. I'm recording Downseller, obviously, but it is probably 50-something and sunny here in Boston, too.
Well, that's pretty good.
Yeah, not bad at all. We'll probably have snow next week, but for now, we'll take it, right?
Right.
Awesome. Well, like I said, longtime members of my community will know you very well because you're very active on the Ravelry board, and we do knit along several times a year. And Wendy has been sponsoring for as long as I can remember, which is awesome. And your yarn is just beautiful. So it's great that folks get extra points or extra entries for using it. But I mentioned that. You're welcome. Because we are going to be starting up our splash pad party soon.
Woohoo!
Yes. That's our big summer knit along. If you are a pigskin party person, for reference, the splash pad party is sort of like the tamed down, have a drink by the pool and relax kind of version of a knit along. So
exactly.
Right? It's so fun. So we're going to kick off on May 28th and run through July 31st. Right now, participants don't need to do anything. They'll be able to sign up starting on May 1st. So we'll have the form ready to go for you by then. Wendy helps me with all this behind the scenes stuff, so we'll get everything ready. But for now, we are still looking for sponsors. We have probably a little more than half of our Pro Shop sponsor slots filled, which is super exciting. And we have several of our free version of the sponsorship, this Snack Shack. We have unlimited numbers of those, and it's such a fun way to share it's mostly indie makers with our participants, and they always get extra entries, whether it's points or entries towards prize drawings if they use your stuff. And then they go on Instagram and they share it, and it's just so much fun.
It is fun, and I just want to add that before I was a sponsor to the events, I was always a participant in your knit-alongs because they're so much fun, and you generate such a community, and everyone has a great time, and you always have a zillion prizes, and so that's always good,
right?
For people
it's such good motivation, isn't it?
It is, and I get a lot of projects done because I tend to plan my year around what I'm casting on, because you can use whips in the splash pad party. That's very important from a participant perspective.
It is.
So right now I'm casting on all the things, because I can finish them all this summer during the
permission slip given. Cast it all on.
Exactly.
And for all of you too. Yeah. Oh, that's so good. So speaking of casting on all the things, why don't you start by sharing something that you're working on, or maybe something you finished? You decide what you want to do first.
All right. I sort of gathered around me the things that I've worked on over the last month, because I thought it seemed like it was a pretty good snapshot of the types of things I do or design. I don't always do my own things because I love working with other designers' things too, and other dyers' yarns. I'm always flexible. It's all fun, right?
I love it. Yeah.
So this top is the Rocket Tee by Tanis Lavely, who's Tanis Fiber Arts on Ravelry, and that's her designer handle as well. And it's a great thing. I've made 2 of these now. They're fingering weight, it's super light, and it is so perfect for our climate here. I'm always making short sleeve or sleeveless tops because it's just perfect for here. So I thought I'd wear that since
I love it. And what's the fiber content of that? Is it wool or is it something else?
It's two different sock yarns. So yeah, wool nylon blends. Nice. Right, and it's very drapey because you do it on size, I want to say fives or sixes. So it's kind of open and drapey. It's super comfortable, and she's designed it with a little ease in it, so it's not tight. You know, it's like your favorite T-shirt.
I can see that. Yeah, I love those colors on them too.
Oh, I know. Everything in my yarn stash is teal or blue. That's me. Mm-hmm. So let's see. The other thing that I get off on a tear every now and then to knit hats. Speaking of my stash, because I love using up my stash by knitting hats. And so just in the last 30 days, these are all my hats that I've finished. Most of the time I just cast on and wing it. So sometimes I combine fibers together like I've done in this one. Or I'll take a couple of fingerings, hold them together, and call that a worsted.
Yeah.
Sometimes I do color work because it's a great way to use up lots of small little bits that I have together.
Especially up the top there, you don't need very much of that green to get those stripes in, and
that's right.
So fun.
And seriously, the pom-pom, that's where you wrap it all up. Anything that's left over,
just keep wrapping.
Pom-pom. There are two in here that are somebody else's patterns, so I should mention those. This one, which has a really cute and kind of, can you see? Yeah.
I can.
It's a honeycomb kind of pattern on here. That is the beeswax hat by Amy Vanderlaar, who goes by Baroque Pearls.
I have that in my library and I haven't knit it yet. So
it's a fun pattern. It's a little bit different type of cable. So it's real fun to make. And then this one, it's a bulky yarn pattern. So it goes super fast. And this is a fairly new one. It's called the Docklands hat. And it was designed by Relo Designs. That's her name on Ravelry.
And that yarn is cool.
Yeah, it's the multicolor yarn is one that I picked up when I was on vacation in Barcelona because I often buy yarn as my travel souvenirs. And the white is just some worsted that I doubled to make it bulky.
Wow, and so the maroon and the green are all part of one skein of yarn?
It's one of those awesome skeins that has the slow color change, you know. Love it. Worked out perfect for
it. It makes it look like you worked even harder than you had to.
I know. And aren't those the best? Those are the best kind of patterns. And honestly, that's a great segue. We didn't plan this at all into my next thing I want to show.
Let's see it.
Okay. Sock. So this is a design that I just released not too long ago, maybe 2 weeks ago. Let me get it up here close so you can sort of see the
It's beautiful, and that yarn is sparkly too. Sparkly
plus
texture is great.
Isn't it fun? These are all leftovers from a sweater I made during pigskin.
Fun.
So this is a new design that I put out, and it's called the Shoreline socks. And I have a knit along going in my group right now to knit it. And there's the patterns on sale in my Ravelry store, so there will be links to that. And it's fun because you can really get into your stash bin for this one. It takes about a half a skein of sock yarn for the main color.
Okay.
And then each one of these sets of stripes only takes like less than 2 grams. So you can do a whole bunch of different colors, or I cast on another one.
Ooh.
So in this case, I've got a variegated skein as my main color and just one color for all the stripes. And that's working well too, I think.
So cool. You could even probably do like a self-striping for the main and a neutral stripe, or vice versa, right? Oh, there's so many options.
Yeah, it's a great stash user. And the other thing that's awesome about it is it's so easy to memorize. It's just a 4-round repeat with a 4-stitch multiple. So I cast this one on just during the basketball game Saturday. So you can see I'm already, through the heel. You just whip right through it. And slip stitch patterns are fun. So
They are. That's my favorite, like the short repeat and like around, and then the short repeat in terms of rows. It's such a good combination for like potato chippy. You just want to keep going.
Exactly.
Easy enough, but
Exactly.
interesting enough.
And those make great mobile projects too, when you want to have something that you can just grab if you got to be in the car for a while or something, you know.
Yeah.
Those types of patterns where you don't have to think a whole lot.
Yeah, and you could probably just have the pattern on a tiny little scrap. Either you print it out or write it on a Post-it. And so it's not like, what page am I on to get to the...
And that's exactly what I did for the second one. I should have brought that to show. Wait. Oh, no, I don't have it. I thought I did, but it's just chicken scratchings on a piece of paper about this big.
It's great when that's enough, and sometimes it is, you know?
It is. It is. Now, the opposite of that is this shawl that I recently completed.
Oh my goodness, Wendy, I've seen a picture of this, but it's even more insane and beautiful.
I'll give you a close-up. This is the Don't Panic shawl by Nim Teasdale. And she just designs gorgeous shawls. She does such a beautiful job, and I'll wear it and look beautiful. I spun the yarn from a bat that was made by Yarn Shine Fiberworks. Okay. And the bat was set up as a gradient, so that was helpful as I was spinning it. It's a 2-ply that I spun, and I spun it just because I wanted to make this pattern for a long time, and so I finally did. And it does have some beads on it.
I see the beads. So about how many yards did you use to make the shawl? How big is it?
I want to say 630 or so. Okay. For this one. And the nice thing about this pattern, and I think a lot of her patterns, is they're flexible. You know, the final repeat around the bottom, you can make it as long or as short as you need to be able to use your yarn as fully as you can.
Well, and especially with hand-spun, that's probably great.
Absolutely, because not only is it variable, but you also want to use every little drop because you spend a lot of time making it, right? So,
absolutely.
Yeah, so I'm very proud of this one because it was fun to make, and of course, I haven't had anywhere to wear it yet, so
no.
So it's nice to show it to somebody, right?
Yes, well, there'll be plenty of people watching here who will appreciate that.
Okay, good. Well, thank you, everyone, for letting me show you my pretty shawl. Yeah. The last thing I brought to show is a new design that I'm working on, and I thought it would be kind of fun to talk about because you just never know where inspiration comes from, and I'm sure you see this too when you do your design work. But
I always love hearing other designers talk about their process, so I'm very excited about this.
Okay, well, usually I get inspired by some sort of technique that I want to play with. Okay. And in this case, it's two things. This one, I was in Copenhagen with my husband in 2019, and we were sitting outdoors in an Irish pub, which happens. And I noticed the street that we were sitting on was this gorgeous tessellated tile. And I started researching it. I mean, it repeats, but it's hard to see it. It's so complicated and so beautiful, though. Turns out it was made in 1993 by a gentleman named Bjorn Norgard. Put this together. So I decided it needed to be a shawl. And kind of, if you can see, if this is the lower end of your shawl here, cut through there. Okay. So since this is fairly complicated, I did something I've never done before with a design project. I made one out of paper first. Got out my little protractor and started measuring. And
oh my goodness. How cool is that?
Voila! Here it is. Oh. So it's a little stiff. I think it'll be better in yarn.
Probably a little bit anyways. Huh?
So anyway, so it was fun to play paper dolls a little bit, and I'm pretty sure the cast on point is going to be right in here. And my plan is to make this be modular in that you'll knit a section and then you'll pick up stitches along the side of that section to knit the next section. And so it's a little bit puzzle-like, but you should get done without any seaming to do. And I plan to incorporate a lot of directional stitch patterns into it to kind of bring out the design as much as possible with it. So it may turn out to be one of those what was I thinking kind of projects.
Probably not, knowing you.
But we'll see. I'm going to dye some yarn. I'm going to start with colors that are similar to the ones in the tile, just for the sake of authenticity. And I'll knit it up, and then maybe I'll try to find good old Bjorn Norgard and see if I can send him a picture of it.
Right? Imagine how blown away, like someone's making this into fabric. Will you use like the same number of colors approximately to what you're seeing in the tile?
Yeah, there's going to be 4 colors. One of them is more predominant than the others. Yeah. But it should be a good range of lights and darks, and so we'll see. Yeah, I'm about to dye the yarn. So.
I feel like there's such a market for that out there. Like when you think about a lot of like the Stephen West mystery shawls and different things like that, I think more and more people are pushing the boundaries. It's not just like a top-down triangle or something that's uber straightforward. You can be pretty sure you can figure out which direction it's made from just by looking at the picture.
I agree.
Good times and places for both of those kinds of things, but I think there's a lot of people looking for something fun and different like that.
Yeah, and especially with mystery cows, I used to do an AI one. This was the first year I didn't do it because this was the year I was going to retire, but then the world changed, so I kept working because I was bored. But anyway, with mystery cows, I always felt like each clue had to introduce something new. You know, you couldn't just say, okay, now do 12 more rows of the same thing. That seemed like cheating to me. So yes, I would get very technique heavy in those and try new things or go off in different directions, like you said, just to keep the project interesting and unique. And, it generally wasn't something everyone wanted to make more than once because they're more complicated than the potato chip socks that we do like to make.
Yeah. You did some fun ones with some really interesting heels and like color work in heels and stuff, didn't you? It's all sort of coming back.
I've done all different kinds of techniques with different color work, stitch patterns. Mosaic is always fun. And that's a type of color work that people enjoy doing because not everyone's ready to jump into stranded color work or intarsia, but pretty much everyone enjoys doing mosaic. And it always makes the project look harder than it actually was, which is always nice when you're showing your project to people.
Yeah, and for those of you who may not know, mosaic knitting is where it looks like color work knitting. So like the sock that you showed, right, was mosaic knitting, but you're only ever using one color or one strand of yarn in any row. You're not having to switch yarn between stitches. You're only switching yarn on different rows or rounds, which is really nice.
Right, and you use slip stitches to bring one color up into the next color section, and that's how it makes it look like it's more mixed up than it really is.
Yes, I love patterns like that. Your designs are completely different from mine, at least many of yours, because you have that sort of eye for the detail and making things really interesting and complicated. And I really enjoy making things very, very simply. But I like when you can do a technique that is very simple, but gives you a very sort of complex looking effect. So when people look at it, they're like, you made that thing. And I'm like, yes. And you don't know how simple it was.
That's a big win right there.
It is. Trick them right out of it. Well, speaking of which, let me show you. I have a new pattern that's going to be coming out soon. Speaking of simple, it is a bulky weight headband.
Ooh.
Yeah. So I initially made one of these for my mom for Christmas because we had yarn left over from the yarn that she purchased at Rhinebeck that I made her a sweater out of. And every time I saw her, she was wearing the sweater, even as a coat here in Boston in, December and January. So I figured, well, if she's going to wear it as a coat, maybe she needs some accessories to go with it. So I designed this headband, and the jacket that I made for her was the Wave of Change jacket by Denise Bayron. And it's basically just stockinette with these reverse stockinette ridges every so often. And so I thought that would be just a fun complement to it.
Oh, cute button.
So, isn't it a fun? But I've had this button in my stash forever, because we all buy little buttons and think we're going to use them, and then they end up
exactly
in the cabinet. Let me see if I can put this on. So this one, wow, everything is very like coordinated. My Boxing Day bonus shawl, which is one of my patterns, is chilling over on the mannequin, but we all matched very nicely today. This yarn is Kramer Yarns Mock Chunky, which I had left over from my Ursa sweater. So now Mom and I each have matching sweaters and headbands.
Perfect.
Yeah, but it's such a quick knit, especially in bulky weight yarn, and it's plenty wide to cover your ears and a bit of your head. So it's nice and toasty.
It looks very thick and cozy, like a hug for your head.
It is, yeah. I love it. So it's done with tech editing, and my test knitters are just finishing up too. So this will be released probably by the time you all are seeing this, which is really exciting. So
nice.
Yeah, it's fun too to do. You know, I started out designing shawls, but it's really fun and satisfying to make things that are really small, because you can just share them with the world so much faster. If you have to knit up, your shawl is going to take you quite a while to knit,
right?
To have it test knit. That those folks are going to need time. One of my test knitters got waylaid with some things and knit all of this in less than an afternoon. So
wow, that's a great project.
Yeah. So that is fun. I brought two other things to show you. So speaking of, you were showing hand-spun that you knit into your shawl. I need to pick your brain, because I finished my first large hand-spun project. I started spinning during the pandemic. I think I started in end of April or May, so I'm still kind of getting used to it. But I had purchased 3 braids of fiber from Wound Up Fiber Arts, 3 braids of Corriedale, and I plied them all together.
Ooh,
What we've got.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Thank you. I'm really excited about it. One of the braids, the lightest one, was called Prim, and it was a lot of cream and a little bit of like the mustardy colors and some like pinky mauvey colors and a little bit of purple. And then the next one was called Fall Vibes, and it was like more saturated, darker versions of that. And then the third braid was called Honey Pie, and it was more of just sort of the cream, the like mustard and the brown kind of color.
Yeah.
And so I really
I love those colors.
Right? They're like, I'm so obsessed with all of these kind of colors right now. Clearly it's it's a theme. But yeah, I just I made singles out of each of the 3 braids and didn't do any color management at all. And I'm really happy with it. So I just did all of the measurements over the weekend. I washed everything, and then I measured it. So I have 306 grams and I have 923 yards. So I think that puts me about like a sport weight, right?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. So it should be enough to make a sweater, which is what I'm hoping for.
Oh, that's going to be beautiful.
I know. I'm very excited. I was thinking too, I can see it from here. I also have some just cream, like undyed Corriedale that I could use with it. So if I found something that needed a little more yardage, I think it's about the same thickness as this. And I could either stripe it in or do some mosaic, or even just do like something like this. If I did a boxy, I could stripe in, or just do the sleeves in like cream or like the trim. So that might give me some more options too, depending on what patterns I'm looking at.
That is going to be gorgeous. And that's such a wonderful thing about spinning, is you can make the exact yarn that you want. You know?
Well, I'm still
freedom.
getting to the point where I can kind of perfect that. I'm sure I have a lot to learn and a ways to go, but and there are definitely parts that, you know, there are some thicker spots and some thinner spots, but I think that I can find a pattern that it will.
And once you knit it, that just becomes part of the nature of the fabric. And so those don't show anymore.
I know. I'm excited to swatch with it. I should actually wind up one of these this week. I don't know that I'll cast on yet. I have another sweater on the needles that deserves some TLC. So I'm afraid if I cast this on, I will never finish the other one, arbitrary knitting rules, but I could at least swap, because then I can brainstorm, and that's half the fun, is figuring it out. You've made some hand-spun sweaters, right?
Yes. I've used 2-ply generally for them, mostly because I live here in Southern California. 3-ply gets a little bit too bulky for me to wear. Yeah. But yeah, a lot of sleeveless tops I've made with hand-spun that was in the fingering to sport weight range. I love them.
I'll stock your projects and see if anything comes up too. It's so fun to plan. I started looking last night just for fun, and it's kind of fun to just go down those rabbit holes for a while.
Oh yes, looking at patterns is an excellent way to let time just escape from you.
Right? It's like a whole separate hobby. Like, I'll go down rabbit holes for like 45 minutes and be like, I'm never going to make those kinds of things, but I'm having a lot of fun seeing what's available,
Yes.
So on the opposite end of the spectrum, I started a project just very recently that's the same kind of like crazy quick and satisfying as you were talking about. Those socks are like just like all of a sudden, like you kind of have it done. So since we've been home during the pandemic, and I've been working from home like 4 days a week, when it's nice out, when it's warm enough, I sit upstairs in our dining room most of the time to work. In the winter, sometimes down cellar, it's warmer because the pellet stove is really cranked up, so it's nice and toasty down here. And in the summer, It's great to be down here because it's cooler. But for parts of the year anyways, I find myself working out of the dining room, which is wonderful. But then we have our hutch behind me, and that's kind of like my Zoom background. And so throughout the pandemic, I've kind of just put up different seasonal decorations, and it's kind of just become a thing, and it's fun for me. And people are like, ooh, now it's time for Valentine's Day or whatever it is. It's just, conversation piece. So I recently, just this weekend, I pulled out Easter decorations that my mom had given me that we used when I was a kid. And I've never put them up. I've had them for like 5 years easily, and I've never decorated, but I'm like, now I have my hutch so I can decorate for Easter.
Oh, there you go.
But after making garlands for Valentine's Day, I'm like, I need garlands for Easter. So we got some bunnies.
Oh, they're so cute.
Fun. Little pom-pom tails. These, 15 minutes maybe. Maybe a little longer to make the pom-pom, like just so quick and easy. One of them I finished on my conference call this morning. It was so simple. And I just used a fork to make the little pom-poms.
Oh, that's a great technique.
Yeah, if you just wrap it around the teeth and then pull it through one of the spaces, it's so fast. And then, oh my goodness, I think I'm so in love with this thing. Look at the little carrot. Fun.
Oh, it's adorable.
It's a good little size compared to
yes.
And then, so I'm hoping I have enough to make another carrot, because I'd like to have at least 2 carrots. And then,
well, yeah, because each bunny needs to have a carrot,
right? So then I need a little egg.
Oh, very cute.
But I think I might need a little chick or something too. I'll have to see something else.
I think so.
And then I could throw in a heart or something. I don't need a very long, it just needs to go across about this far to cover the hutch. So
that's going to be adorable.
And I have a lot of these. I've talked on other crafty chats about these little Knit Picks Brava worsted. They sell kits of these 25-gram minis, and they're so perfect for a little thing. Like you said, for hats or things like that, you could use it for anything. It's just acrylic yarn, but it's so great for toys, because often you don't need a huge amount of color to, if you just need a little bit of green for a carrot. If you had to buy a whole skein of yarn, that could be, prohibitive cost-wise, whereas you could get one of these kits for like $20 and get like, I forget how many come in there, maybe 15 different colors.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, so that's been really fun, and it just gives me more colors to pick from. I think I pulled another purple too, but I figure I'll do some eggs in the different different colors. So I'll post a picture on Instagram when I get them all put
It
up.
makes me think of how exciting it was when we were kids and we would get that new box of crayons for the school year. And, you know, they were all still pristine and you had perfect box. None of them had broken yet.
Yeah,
that
your
must
brother
be what
had
it's like to
gotten
open
into
up
it.
that box from Knit Picks must be like opening that.
It really is. And it almost like, you know, I pulled out some to show just the colors, but like this tiny little satisfying little bundle is so much nicer even than when you just have a little left and who knows where the wrapper is. But yeah, I have a whole like a comforter or like set of sheet clear plastic container with the zip top that I put them all in. When they're all lined up in there, it's exactly like that. It's like a fresh crayons. And then I just tuck all these little ones in the middle. So then the outside edges are all
Perfect.
balls of yarn.
It's how big girls play with dolls.
Exactly. Totally acceptable. And then we can make beautiful things out of them. It's not just
that's right,
play, which is fun.
Excellent.
Well,
I love your idea of decorating because it's sort of a public service these days. Because like me, I never know what day it is, let alone season. So that would be helpful if I was speaking to you and I could see there were Valentines behind you.
yeah,
know.
it kind of helps mark the time, like for us and for other people. It gives you a little bit of context, like even just, you know, taking pictures around the house. Every once in a while, we do have family over with masks on, but like I'll see a picture of someone in the dining room and be like, oh, it was in February because the arts were done, you know?
Perfect.
And it's such like I'm not into just buying stuff for the sake of buying stuff when I can avoid it. So this is using up things that I already own, and it's sort of like a personal little touch. And it's just a tiny little thing that I can throw back in the bin. It'll fit in there already. I don't need, you know, lots of extra storage in order to get out the Easter bin for next year.
Yeah.
It just kind of brightens things up a little bit, which, yeah, we all
definitely
is.
It's putting a smile on my face.
Excellent. Actually, I'll show you one more thing before we let folks go. I'm also working on socks. These ones are right up your alley.
Pretty colors.
Okay, fun. This is Knit Picks yarn also. They are Felici base in the whale song colorway for the body, and then just some Knit Picks stroll in navy for the heels.
I like that.
Which I mostly do, well, you know, heels and toes can get dirty, so having a darker color is kind of nice. But I also like to have leftovers of self-striping because then I can make like Franken socks and mix all the stripes together. So it's fun to have more leftovers to play with. And I don't mind the extra ends.
Yeah, self-striping's fun.
Yeah, it's so potato chippy. And now I'm through the heel of my second sock. So this one should fly right through my conference call knitting for the rest of the week.
That's perfect for conference calls.
Exactly.
Yeah, this one is kind of self-striping. I was just experimenting with some dyeing when I was working on my hats.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. It's very simple.
Is that one of your existing colorways or no?
No, it's my worsted weight base that I use, but it was just an experiment. I think it came out pretty good, but it would be different on, you know,
different
with exactly. You know, that's always the caveat with, especially with variegated yarns, is as soon as you change your gauge, your circumference, your stitch pattern, it's going to knit up completely differently.
Yeah.
So, which
can be part of the fun as long as you're willing.
Exactly. And if it doesn't look good, well, you know, it's just yarn, pull it out.
No, exactly. My last crafty chat I did with my friend Emily, and we came back to that several times of it's such a wonderful option with knitting and crochet that you don't have with all of the other fiber arts. Like sometimes when you sew things, if you mess up, I guess you can make it smaller sometimes, but you can't always go back. And knitting, you can kind of always go back. Even if you wore the sweater for a year, you could rip it out and make something new, which is really fun.
Exactly. Yeah, my husband does woodworking. This is the sort of thing he does.
Wow.
And we talk a lot about the similarities between our crafts and that we both like nice raw materials, and we like to design things, and we like expensive tools and all those things. But I said I kind of win, because if mine sucks, I can just pull it out and start over, whereas yours is gonna fuel a nice fire that evening.
That's some consolation, I guess, but not much. The only option we had was to burn our project. We'd probably be pretty upset.
I know, but we would do it really, really well. I'm sure we'd have a really cool ceremonial way to do it.
Absolutely.
Full moon, chanting, I don't know.
Yeah, I like it. Oh, well, Wendy, this has been so much fun. Thank you for hopping on and chatting. And
my pleasure.
We'll look forward to seeing you around the Downseller Studio Ravelry group. And don't forget that I will link to all of Wendy's information down below. So go follow her on social. Wendy posts the most amazing pictures on Instagram. Like, I should have mentioned this at the beginning, like me, you knit literally everywhere, I think, and often post pictures of you knitting in the pool in places that most knitters don't dare to venture. So I love seeing what you're up to, where you are, and how far you're taking your knitting. So I think.
All right. Well, that motivates me to keep posting. Thank you.
Absolutely. And don't forget that Wendy has both designs, and she's got beautiful yarn in the Knitters Brewing Company shop. So check her out there too. Right.
Well, I'm looking forward to Splash Pad. So
yes,
let's get everybody out there this year.
Yes, mark your calendars. We will be sharing more in the group, and I'll be sharing on Instagram. So follow us on social, and you won't miss anything. We'd love to. And if you've never participated, please come over and join us. Ask any questions. We always love new folks. It's really low pressure and fun, and we'll just relax away the summer and maybe get some stuff done too.
Yeah. And prizes.
So many prizes. Yay. All right, Wendy. Well, thank you for joining us. Thank you all for watching, and we will catch up with you again soon. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye.